Hey everyone, a nerd named Mark here, and it's time to talk about episode 2 of Kamen Rider Geats. We now have our next Desire Grand Prix upon us, and I can't wait to see what Megabyte has in store for Kawa and Ace. Wait, I made a reboot reference again. I apologize, because I'm that old where I'm going to make a lot of reboot references. If you aren't sure, Reboot is this amazing show. Amazing show. It came out back in, 90, 94, 95, and at various times there's multiple seasons. That's for a whole nother video for another time. Episode 2, it's late, it's 1 a.m. Subs dropped a little bit ago, so this episode was, I'm just going to give you a breakdown of the little bits of what happens. So we start off the episode with a recap of everything that happened, from like Kawa kind of explaining it. We find out he's explaining it to his sister, and she's just like, it sounds like a dream. Was it a dream? And next thing you know, on the TV screen we get Ace, and apparently he's a big star now. I think the title was The Star of the Star of the Stars, and he's, and Kawa instantly like recognizes it, like, hey, was this a dream then? Because he recognized Ace. And I guess from what I'm getting is when Ace won and rebooted the world, no pun intended, he made it so he's a big star, like a mega star. Everyone is throwing themselves at him and fawning over him. And we kind of get that arrogant, everyone's like, he's so handsome. This, he's like, I'm aware of this, as he's walking in. And our, I guess, navigator, female person who's not running it, but the Desire Grand Prix, bumps into him in the lobby. They're having lunch, and even Ace points out the fact that they're on a date, and she questions, what it is that, what is he planning? Because even Ace points out there's limitations to what you can wish for with your desire. And I'm like, oh, so he's testing these limits. So it makes me think he's won a lot more than once, which is very intriguing. So we after that we get a nice funny little scene, which I think all of us just went through in the last week when we got our Desire drivers, where Kawa opens it up, reads the little card on it, and he's just messing around the belt. He taps it on his waist and the belt appears, and then he's playing with the ID core, puts it in. He's teleported to our floating, poorly CG platform that's above a desert. And we never really get scenes where a character gets their driver belt and is like, what does this do? How do I do this? Like, and they're just tapping it, So I thought that was really cool to see that scene. And then we finally get the name of this mysterious woman. She is the navigator, and her name is Sumuri. Sumuri? I'm gonna say Sumuri. And it's revealed that, she's the navigator. She's basically the host through this whole Grand Prix. And then we get the OP. Okay, the video for the opening, really good. Really enjoy it. A lot of green screen stuff to it, but I did enjoy it. The song, though, it wasn't an instant like, ooh, this is a banger. We find out some more backstory of what's going on with everything. So the Yamato have actually invaded, and even the navigator says she doesn't know why or what they're after, but in order to protect the world, the Desire Grand Prix was invented. And I find this very interesting, because I'm like, who invented the Grand Prix then? And why is this all of a sudden, how is this technically stopping them and protecting the world? Like, I want to know, because even everyone looks confused about this. And even she mentions that everyone's memories are wiped after the game. And the only way you get any of your memories back is if you get the ID core. So so now this goes back to why Kawa, at the end of episode 1, when he got his driver, he had the flashes of everything. So basically, anyone who hasn't been chosen to be a part of the Grand Prix, hasn't been a Kamen Rider, doesn't have their memories. So I was like, okay, this makes perfect sense. So then it's also explained that whoever wins gets their wish or their desire granted. So everyone gets these little desire cards that are blank, and they get to write down what their desire is. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So we already have them all already written down ahead of time. So you can't, I don't know if you can change your mind. I don't know how specific you can be because, like I said, Ace is now the star of the star of the stars, and everyone's fawning over him. So it's like, how specific can you be? But we get our first game, which is in a forest area, and it's a treasure hunt. So Jamatos are around. You have to defeat them and basically get your treasure. It's a treasure hunt, so you get a treasure. And I was like, that's pretty cool. We actually finally get our first look at like the loot boxes or mission boxes that you can get in the games that you play. And Ace got a water upgrade. I wonder what it does, and he used it, and he looked, I'm not gonna lie, it looked ridiculous. I mean, the quality of like the weapons for them, I know they're just quick little like gimmicks for weapons, but like the fact that it's just like a solid color, no real even from the standpoint of like the form on the armor having just a symbol on the chest and a little like a blue strap, I was like, it's not bad, but it could have been better. Like, but I don't mind it. At least it makes it more special when you get something like Magnum or Boost. So there's that. Then throughout the whole entire thing, we see like the various characters like using rocks to fight them, or sticks or trees, and tripping them, and all little like shenanigans. And like, it's not a lot of it's very serious. It's very just entertaining to watch. And then Kawa gets his mission box, and he actually gets the boost item. I don't know, I'm gonna call it the boost gimmick. I'm just gonna call them gimmicks for right now. He gets the boost gimmick, and you can kind of see as he gets it, you get Ace sees it and kind of like looks out of the side of his eye and kind of like, oh, he's got my boost. He had that look on his face because he got the water one, and I'd rather have the boost. So and a funny thing is, after Kawa gets that, he bumps into another contestant, and it ends up being the guy from the interview in the first episode, and they are having some conversations back and forth, and he's like, he brings up the world peace, and they talk about what their wishes were going to be, and we find out the guy's name is Taiwa, and the reason why he's doing this is because his son is sick, and he wants to just make sure his son is healed up, better, and cured. And I was like, okay. And he even shows a family photo. When I saw this, I was like, okay, one or two things are going to happen. He's going to turn on Kawa because he wants to save his son, or he will be the second inductee into the Geats Yeet counter, and then that will push Kawa to like harden up and be tougher. That was my prediction at the time, but as I get into this more, we find out that didn't happen. So after all this, the butler dude shows up, and everyone is brought to the rest area who got their treasure. And I noticed there was only like not many people left. There's not many of them in there. We got to finally figure out who Buffa's name is, and it's Azuma Mishinaga. And then also, because they have the phone and it shows the names and this and that, we find out that the code name or Kamen Rider names for Neon and Kawa are Tycoon and Naga. And one thing I really like about this is there's something up between Azuma and Ace, because their banter back and forth, I feel like they've done this a lot, because they definitely are familiar with each other. They definitely know how to get under each other's skin, and I think their dynamic is kind of like a friendly rivalry, but still a lot of trash talking. And it's to the point where even the butler shows up, and he actually tells them he reiterates another rule, which is a new rule for us because we're only 2 episodes in, that any act of violence or sabotage is strictly forbidden in the rest area, which makes you wonder, for me anyways, what are the rules when you're in the game? Because if the rest area, the lounge area place, is like no sabotage, no acts of violence against each other, what are the rules when you're in the game then? And I think we're slowly going to get more of the rules every episode, maybe 1 or 2. He also says any rule broken is a swift disqualification. So my thing is, could you, maybe hype up someone, get them, angry at you and riled up in the and then in the game, and then when you're in the lounge area, they're just so blinded with rage, they come after you and like take a swing at you, and then they're disqualified. Like there's a that lead like that disqualification. Because I was wondering, because games have rules, but also what happens when you break them, and now we know instant disqualification. So now we get our round 2, and we do find out there is only 7 contestants left, and I was like, okay, a lot of people didn't make it through. And this time it's defeat all the enemies, and there's going to be bosses utilizing the items you got in the treasure hunt, and anyone who survives make it to the next round. And this was something key, because even Kawa picked up on this, and they said, what happens if you die in these games, and they said it's not like before where the NPC, people, it gets reset, everyone's fine. Like, it's different if you're a Kamen Rider in this, and Ace brings that up. So basically, you die in the game, you die in real life. We get, like, now that we find out everyone's transported to the next area, it's still in the forest, it's still in the same area. So my theory is, when the game area drops, all the rounds take place in that one centralized area, which makes you think, in the first episode, what was, like, they were trying to save humans and defeat enemies for points, but what were the rounds before that? Because now I'm really curious. But regardless, we get a cool little group entry form transformation. It wasn't really a full henshin, no one did their poses or anything, it just ID cores activated. We got the entry forms with their helmets, which was really cool to see. And then, everyone started fighting their Jamatos. And then one of my favorite things is we got Buffalo with the zombie gimmick. I love that form, and I'm not gonna lie, I bought the regular Geats driver. I kind of wish I bought the bundle that came with the zombie, because I didn't think it was gonna be that cool, and I didn't want to spend that much money. And now I'm just like, shit, I should have bought that, because that looked so good. And the music for it was really good. I'll play a clip of it, but there won't be any audio because I'm not trying to get a copyright. So everyone's fighting, and I noticed Kay was just hiding behind a tree, just watching everybody. And then Tyra, I'm gonna the dude from the interview, he's being attacked by some Jamato and the boss, and he's getting his ass beat. Not gonna lie, he's not doing anything. He's weak, not doing it. And eventually the family photo drops, and Kawa picks it up, and he's still watching get beat nonstop. And I'm just like, oh, I was like, we're gonna get a yeet. It's gonna happen. Are we gonna get one every episode? I don't know. And I was like, yeet him. And then we got the axe went to the ground, and there was a big explosion. He flies away. Then I'm like, yeah, he's yeeted. But then, Gable runs over, he's holding him in his arms, and he's telling him, he's like, I just want, I let my son down. He doesn't deserve, I don't deserve to be his father. Like, all these somber things that Kay was just like, all lemon face and, emotional. And then the body just disappears because the ID core cracked. And I was like, oh, we got it. So without further ado, the Geats counter is now at 2 total this season. And yeah, that happened. Still haven't made it animated yet. I gotta make it animated with a sound effect. I really need to do that at some point when I have free time. So after all this, Ace and the boss are fighting, and Kate was just still watching, and Ace is like, give me your tycoon boost, because previously, before all this, Ace and him had a talk. He explained to Kay, well, the reason why he's doing this is because he wants to help the unfortunate children around the world, and that they're the ones who will make the future. Now, I'm just like, that's bullshit, okay? Like, we know Ace is egotistical, and he's arrogant and cocky. He's not doing this for the children. But Kawa, being gullible and ignorant, is like, okay, we have the same goals. So now, later on, when Ace is like, hey, throw me the boost, I got this, I can defeat him, he threw it. And I was sitting there like, really? I paused it, and I was like, did you really just throw that to him, you dumb ass? So he did. And Ace is just literally like dominating the boss. Like, he's just kicking him, making light work of it. And then his little fox shows up, and he goes to do his finisher, and the fox like sucks in a whole bunch of water, like, and then just jettisons it towards the back of Geats, launching him at the enemy like some weird hydro pump move. And I'm like, is he a Pokemon? Like, it was really cool looking though. I mean, I'm probably playing a clip right now, I'm not really sure because I haven't edited the video. And we get a Rider punch this time, and just like I said, right after all that, Ace thanks Kawa for being so easy to fool, and he knew he had it, like, he had him. And I was like, yeah, Kawa deserves this. Like, he said if he knew he gave him a sad story, he would give him the boost buckle, which, okay, I don't have to call it gimmick anymore, I'll call it the boost buckle, from him. And he's like, don't you ever read books? Foxes are known to deceive. And then we find out also the boost buckle, the reason why it popped off of the side in the first episode, and it just did it again as Kawa tried to steal it back from him, is the buckle is a one use only. So I'm just like, okay, the raised buckles aren't, but I guess like the boost one is. I don't know if the Magnum is, because he had Magnum like more than once in the first episode, and Japan had it in this one. So I'm like, okay, I guess right now the boost buckle is a one-time use, because I don't think Zombie is either. Now they're back and it's over. There's 6 of them made it through, so only one person got yeeted so far. And we find out from K1 when he asks the navigator if the previous eliminated contestants could be revived, and she said, if that is your wish. And we also find out that now we're back, the game's over, and I guess they get to go back to the real world, and wait until the next game starts. So not all the rounds are done in one time. This time was just 2 rounds, and I was like, okay, this is intriguing. We're piecing together more how this game works. And so after that, we find out that the son, who was sick, all the resources needed to treat him and everything else were donated anonymously by someone called the Nameless Fox, as we see Ace walking out of the building. And then we also see the main dude with the mask that's watching on the screens, wondering what Ace is up to. And then we get another, that's the end of the episode, we get another black screen and another rule. And the rule this week is the sole survivor of the game will have their wish granted, conditions apply. So I'm like, okay, intriguing. So this was actually a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. These episodes, like the first episode, I get it because it was the debut, but this episode seemed oddly paced because it went by really fast. And I, like, by the time it was done, I was like, has it been 20 minutes already? Like, really? Like, it went by really fast. But we also got a lot of information because we're still being introduced to the Desire, or yeah, the Desire Grand Prix. I don't know why I said Grand Desire. The Desire Grand Prix. We're getting introduced to some of the characters. Not all of them had a lot of screen time, but really we're getting we're getting the banter between Azuma and Ace. We're getting Kawa's like being fooled by Ace and everything else going on, and trying to like really get him into the game, because he wants world peace, but he's not really putting in the work to get it and earn, winning. Because even when he got his mystery box, mission box thing, it was on accident. He didn't actually fight anything. An enemy fell next to him and dropped the box, and he picked it up. So it's like, come on. But I'm really curious. I'm actually really enjoying the show. I can't wait for episode 3 because I looked at the preview and it's going to be a zombie game. So I'm like, ooh, I'm here for that. But let me know in the comments below what you thought of episode 2 of Kamen Rider Geats. I need to edit all this and get all my clips together. And if you haven't already, I believe I just hit 750 subscribers on the channel, which is ridiculous. Like, thank each and every single one of you who's been checking out my videos. Don't forget to subscribe. I have a lot of other videos I'm working on. And with that being said, and let me know what you think of this episode. Are you watching Geats? What'd you think of the theme song? Honestly, that's more, I'm really curious to see what everyone thinks about the OP. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.